All right. Let's talk about Mr. Trent Horn here. So before I say anything, I want to say this. I have no personal issue against Trent. I don't have any personal issue against him. Okay. When I've spoken to him in private in the past, he's been more than cordial. But these particular statements, these statements here are so egregious, I have to say something about it. Okay. These particular statements are so egregious, I have to say something about it. Let me make something else clear. Okay. I do not personally use profanity at all. Okay. In my personal life or on YouTube, you will be hard pressed to find any clip of me using profanity on this channel, so on and so forth. Okay. I just don't do it. It is not a sin that I personally struggle with. Okay. This is not a vice that I struggle with. This is not a habit that I struggle with. Let's put it that way. That doesn't make me any better than anyone else. I struggle with plenty of other stuff. Don't get me wrong. Okay. This is not one of them. That being said, I am not going to go around and be the potty word police and tell people, oh, you said a no word. Like, and go and blast people for using potty words on YouTube. Okay. This is ridiculous. This is what is this, baby time? But he takes it a step further. He says they're going to go to hell for doing so. The context of this clip, I should just pull up the whole video. I'll play you this, but then I do want to pull up the whole video because I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'll play a larger part of it. He basically says, since Jay said F you, all right, since Jay said F you, this means he has anger in his heart, and this anger in his heart is going to send him to hell. And everybody who follows his content. But he didn't stop there. He said Andrew Wilson, who also uses potty words, has anger in his heart and is going to go to hell for this as well. Let's take a look at what he has to say here, and then I'll go find the video and I'll play a broader clip.
I'm going to be blunt. If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven. What concerns me is that
he will not go to heaven.
Dyer, Wilson, and other commenters like them cultivate this sinful attitude among their audiences. And that can lead to damnation for many of their followers. I'm going to be blunt.
So he talks about Jay Dyer, Andrew Wilson. He says they're leading their followers to hell, basically, because of the anger in their heart, and they're cultivating anger. All right. Because he uses potty words. Let me go find the full video real quick, because I want to play a bigger portion of that, because he says more on this particular subject. Hold on. Let's see. All right. I'm going to play a little bit of a bigger piece of this.
If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven.
Oh, wait.
What concerns me is that Dyer learned to behave.
All right. Let's watch this clip here. I'm going to go back here to the Jay Dyer portion, and then we'll see what he has to say.
However, Andrew's response paled in comparison to others, especially Jay Dyer. In one part of my episode, I criticized Dyer for calling Talbert Swan Tilda Swinton. He wasn't being abused.
What a very small and minute thing to criticize someone over, by the way. Calling somebody Tilda Swinton. Is this really evil? Is this indicative of evil? Tilda Swinton. Somebody calls me I don't know, cleave to whatever, makeup, cleave to whatever. I've seen people call me cleave to iniquity, cleave to LARPing or whatever. Like, oh, that's evil. I'm going to make a whole video calling you out. He called me cleave to evil.
Abusive, but it is annoying and silly for someone who wants to publicly
and antiquity cleavage. That's not profanity, by the way. Okay, so don't go and make a clip and say he says he never uses profanity, but he said cleavage. It's not profanity. Okay.
Defend the Christian faith on a large platform. But then Dyer said on X, Trent Horn virtue signals over me calling a fake black activist bishop a fake bishop. But I didn't say that. This is either a lie or an ignorant falsehood. So I told Jay, I accurately pointed out your embarrassing behavior, which in this case was calling Talbert Swan Tilda Swinton. I said nothing about the title of bishop. This is yet another example of you behaving like an overgrown 12-year-old.
That's true. The amount of patience Jay has is insane. If he's damned by Trent, everyone is cooked.
Instead of a mature man of God. Grow up. Notice my reply is not verbal abuse. It's a fraternal correction rooted in objective facts about how Dyer was conducting himself. It's the same correction I gave.
Yeah, I don't ever really cuss, dude. I think it, it's everybody has their own struggles, right? Everybody has their own struggles. People struggle with language. People struggle with, different things. People struggle with lust or wrath or, whatever else, laziness, gluttony, right? But I don't know. I'm not going to be the potty word police. That just strikes me as very effeminate, right? It doesn't mean, all right, listen, if you're watching this, don't use this as an excuse to go around dropping F-bombs because you think it's funny. Right? We should be striving to better ourselves. We should be striving to be more holy. But the point that I'm making here is especially as somebody who says Muslims and Hindus can be saved, to condemn somebody to hell for saying potty words is wild freaking work. Okay? Even if I don't particularly use profanity, I'm not going to go around and say you're going to hell for using potty words, right? Of course, we should all strive upwards. We should all strive to be more moral. Jay's not a priest, right? He's not a priest. So, I mean, he's about to compare them. The reason I say that, he's about to compare them to Athonite monks and say, what would these monks say about this? Yes, of course, we know this is something that is less than desirable, right? Something that we should strive towards improving. That doesn't mean you condemn him to hell over it. It's ridiculous.
Nick Fuentes regarding his abusive behavior towards my family.
Oh, my family. You attacked my family. You called my wife a bitch. Well, okay. You're a bitch. She's a bitch. You're a couple of.
Yeah. And he talks about Nick.
Oh, what would be better is if you submitted yourself to a spiritual director, maybe someone like Father Ripperger, so you can learn to behave in an actually Christ-like way and not like an overgrown 12-year-old screaming into his Xbox Live headset.
Oh, okay. So there you go. He can insult him in a different way, but as long as he doesn't say potty words, it's all right. He can say he's an overgrown 12-year-old screaming into an Xbox Live headset. He should submit himself to Father Ripperger, who talks to demons and gets advice from them, I guess. But what he can't do is say potty words. That's where I draw the line.
Again, fraternal correction is not the same as abusive insults, and any mature person can see the difference. But after giving this kind of correction to Jay Dyer, he completely lost it. He immediately blocked me and went on a tirade of posts, including one where he simply says, "Hey,
look, I think blocking people when they're making you mad is probably good, or blocking them so that they don't get you mad, like preemptively, right? Before I even made the announcement video that I was journeying into Orthodoxy, I had a preemptive block list provided to me. I said, please tell me who are the most subversive accounts that are going to give me a big headache, and I'm going to go ahead and block them. And I went ahead and I did that like day one. So I think that's wise, right? But anyway.
Trent, F-word you. And this kind of language isn't unusual for Jay, though I would ask him if the Orthodox monks on Mount Athos talk like he does. And I'm going to be blunt. If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven. What concerns me.
There you go. So that's the context of that clip here. Look, I'll play it one more time just so you can see what he says.
Dyer, he completely lost it. He immediately blocked me and went on a tirade of posts, including one where he simply says, "Hey, Trent, F-word you." And this
is what he's saying he's going to hell over, for saying, "Hey, Trent, F-word you." So using potty words is the immediate context of this "you're going to hell" statement.
Kind of language isn't unusual for Jay, though I would ask him if the Orthodox monks on Mount Athos talk like he does.
Yeah, and he's comparing him to monks on Mount Athos. Do these monks use potty words? Jay Dyer, internet apologist, you should also live exactly like a monk.
That's going to send you straight to hell, amen.
Granted, again, don't use this as an excuse to go around and say, you know, the F-bomb or whatever. Everybody's got stuff that they work on, right? My point is saying condemning him to hell over it is insanity. That is a huge, huge, huge overreach. First off, you're putting yourself in the judgment seat of Christ and you're judging his heart, right? You're judging his intent. You're saying, since he said this word, this potty word, therefore he has anger in his heart. Therefore, he's going to go to hell because he has anger in his heart because he uses potty words. That's the line of reasoning here.
And I'm going to be blunt. If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven. What concerns me is that Dyer, Wilson, and other commenters like them cultivate this sinful attitude among their audiences.
Cultivate this sinful attitude among their audiences. So he's saying that Andrew Wilson, Jay Dyer, going to hell, their audiences going to hell, or could be, or it's being cultivated. They're producing a crop of damnation amongst their followers. This is wild stuff for him to be saying. Now, look, okay, I do want to cut Trent just a slight amount of slack. Okay, I do want to cut Trent just a slight amount of slack. Yes, this is a massive overreach. Yes, you shouldn't be condemning people to hell, dude. This is wild. Okay, especially if you're trying to portray yourself as the more charitable and nuanced guy. Right? This is something I would expect more Sam Shimon to be saying. Okay. Sam Shimon condemns somebody to hell every single stream, including myself. Sam Shimon said, I'm a son of the devil. I'm a servant of Satan, so on and so forth, because I said the truth that Trent Doherty was debating with a bisexual atheist in the debate we had when I was Protestant. So I would expect this from Sam Shimon, but not when you're doing the piety signaling stream. How are you going to do a piety signaling stream and condemn people to hell in the same breath? This is absolutely insane. This is wild stuff, dude. This is wild. Anyway, the slack that I wanted to give him. Okay, his wife, he's going through a hard time. Trent is going through a hard time. Obviously, he's under a lot of stress. All right. You see the bags under his eyes. You can see, he looks a little disheveled, a little stressed out. Anyway, his wife has cancer, is recovering from cancer, or recovering from the cancer surgery, brain surgery. The last time I checked, she's going through speech therapy and stuff like this. So I can only imagine the amount of stress that Trent Horn is going through right now. So I do want to say, look, all right, we're each given one. All right, but you might, in a spirit of actual love for people, I would say it might be time to take a little bit of a vacation if the stress from all of this stuff is causing you to condemn people to hell for saying the F-bomb. All right. Condemn people to hell, not only them, but all of their followers to hell for saying the F-bomb. Okay. I think it's because of stress. All right. Jay was saying something like he's running from debates and things like this. I think that might be an aspect of it. I think it's because of stress. Okay. Trent has been doing the piety signaling thing for a while now. And since the optics are now swaying out of his favor, because he's used to them being in his favor all the time, but since they're swaying out of his favor, he is, he's even more stressed. He's being pushed to the brink. So I would say, take a break, dude. Take a break, because you shouldn't be saying everyone's going to hell for saying potty words.
And can see the difference. But after giving this kind of correction to Jay Dyer, he completely lost it. He immediately blocked me. And
guys, let's not talk about his wife. That's going too far. What did I don't know if you have comprehension issues or what, but I literally just said that is an excuse for his behavior, that it is understandable that he is frustrated. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you just aren't following along or what. Anyway, let's see this. What is RC's justification for Jesus being sustainer of all? Hebrews 1:3, Colossians 1:17. It is clear that he is. Well, I'm not doing a theology stream right now, but I appreciate your super chat, man. Come back in a Come back when I do one of the priest Q&As or something. We could chat theology. Thanks for becoming a member, Tony of the Desert. Appreciate you. Paisios of EO. St. Paisios literally cursed Coptics in the Pope. I don't know if he used profanity, but he certainly didn't have kind words to say. That's true. Trent damns Dyer to hell for cussing whilst having full-blown debates with people like Destiny. What a tone policing narcissist. That's having debates with people like Destiny and calling out rather Jay over Destiny is insane, right? But again, right, it's Lent. These things go around. The interpersonal drama is nonstop. This is incredibly immature on Trent's part. Yeah, I think this is a crash out, high stress crash out. Thank you, Lord, that I'm not evil like Jay or Andrew, the parable of the publican and the podcaster. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's basically what he's like. He's like, thank you, God, that I don't use potty words like Jay, who is a condemned. He's condemned for having anger in his heart. Thank you, God, for not putting anger in my heart like Jay. He sounds like who's that guy? Who's that guy that always says amazing or whatever? Amazing. Who's that guy that says that? The dude that Jesse Lee Peterson? Amazing. Yeah, he's like, you got anger in your heart. You got anger. You got anger, so you're a sinner. You got anger. Jay Dyer just had an interview with him, I guess. I'm interested to see that. JLP is crazy, though. He's absolutely crazy. Trent just needs to take a break to focus on his wife. Yeah, I would say that would be genuine advice. Something really to consider. On a serious note, Trent, if you're watching this, dude, I have complete compassion for your situation that's going on. Cancer sucks. I've had cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. I know it sucks. It's got to suck taking care of this stuff. But dude, if you're coming to the point where you're like, you're so stressed out that you're condemning people to hell for using potty words, you might want to take a break. And again, don't take that out of context. I'm not attacking you in your situation. I'm saying I can understand why you're so stressed. That's all I'm saying with that. Trent to Destiny. RCs could use someone like you. Like Destiny. Lord of mercy, dude. Lord of mercy. All right. Anyway, let's see.
Went on a tirade of posts, including one where he simply says, "Hey, Trent, F word you." And this kind of language isn't unusual for Jay, though I would ask him if the Orthodox monks on Mount Athos talk like he does. And I'm going to be blunt. If a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven. What concerns me is that Dyer, Wilson, and other commenters like them cultivate this sinful attitude among their audiences. And that can lead to damnation for many of their followers if they fall down the rabbit hole of hatred and malice. What amazes me about everyone who says I'm tone policing is that when I watch their response videos, they just stare at their screen as I read off Bible verse after Bible verse that says Christians should not act like the way they act.
So, all right, so you're saying that the correct response is to say, you're a filthy sinner in this one area, you're going to hell because you have different sins than I do. Look, we all agree. We all agree that we should be striving upwards. We all agree that we should be working on the things that we struggle with. Some people struggle with alcohol addiction. Some people struggle with overeating. Some people struggle with being lazy, right? But, it would be hypocritical of somebody who, say, struggles with being lazy to then point to somebody who maybe struggles with an alcohol addiction and say, you filthy sinner, you're going to hell unlike me. Thank God I'm not an alcoholic like that guy, or, I'm the lazy guy, whatever. You get the point. That's what we're saying here. Okay. And you're making a judgment of his heart because of some words that he said. You can't see inside of his heart for this stuff. This is ridiculous.
And they have no response, or they use the craziest exegetical gymnastics to get around the text.
Hey, big super chat. He said, "Effing love you, Trent." $100 super chat. I appreciate you, man. That's huge. That's funny. Yeah, you got some anger in your heart, Macaulay Roofing. You got anger. You got anger. I that would be a good soundboard thing. JLP saying, "You got anger. You got anger. You got sins in your heart. You got anger." Father Stephen the Young, RCs don't need destiny. They have plenty of gays. Lord have mercy. That's so funny, dude.
Here's part of Jay's reaction, dropping an F-bomb to insult somebody, like Andrew does in this clip.
I will never be able to convince you of my worldview. Charlie, I just think, honestly, you're too stupid to understand them.
St. Paul repeatedly says that overseers in the church must be gentle and not quarrelsome or violent, and that all Christians must...
Overseers in the church, bishops. So is he saying, he's saying Jay's a bishop. Jay really is a black bishop. Is that the argument that we're making here? You're holding him to the standard of presbyter or bishop or episcopos?
Put away anger, wrath, malice, slander, and foul talk from their mouth. Jesus said in Matthew 5:22.
Oh, that's right, because he's talking about Andrew Wilson. Bishop Wilson. Yeah, Jay is my favorite black bishop.
Whoever insults his brother shall be liable to the council, and whoever says, "You fool," shall be liable to the hell of fire. And 2 Timothy chapter 2 said,
Yeah, the text is not making a joke or making fun of people. The text accuses his brother and thus liable to the council. So that's some Roman Catholic translation.
Notice that Jay has to sit in silence at the verses which describe how Christians should act, because he consistently does not act like that. Second, Matthew 5:22 doesn't...
So are you trying to say he's a bishop then? Look, dude, we get it. You got to act better. That doesn't excuse condemning him to hell for, though. You got to act better. Everybody's got to act better. I got to act better. I got stuff I got to work on, dude. I got a full-time job working on myself, right? I have too much time to spend working on myself, Trent, to go and condemn other people for their bad behavior, right? Which is why I'm not saying you are a bad condemned sinner for calling out Jay and saying that he's going to hell. My advice is simply take a break and go spend time with your family. That's all it is. I got a full-time job working on myself, dude. You know what I mean?
Have the Greek word kategoreo, which means accuse, though that word does appear in Matthew 12:10 and Matthew 27:12. An accuser is mentioned in Matthew 5:25 in a different context and situation. But the Greek of Matthew 5:22, the verse I referenced, just records Jesus saying anyone who becomes angry or enraged with his brother or gizomenos is liable to judgment.
Bishop Tilda Swinton. I'm just happy Jay Dyer addressed me by my title of bishop. That's so funny, dude.
And anyone who says or calls, not accuse, but merely says his brother is a raka or fool will be liable to the Sanhedrin and hell of fire. And this isn't some Catholic translation, because the same translation can be found in the Orthodox Study Bible. Another point my profane critics made was that I was inconsistent, because I thought Stephen Colbert's joke with Philip Zimbardo, where he said, "I teach Sunday school, mother effer," was okay. But most people recognize that Colbert was speaking comedically in an over-the-top way. He wasn't angrily calling Zimbardo an MFer, like how Dyer said F you to me with anger, or other apologists online who I've seen use language.
Anyway, you get the point. It's one big piety signaling thing. The whole point, though, is that he's condemning him and Andrew Wilson and all of their followers to hell for using potty words. What did I say on this? I said, I don't have any personal issue with Trent Horn, but saying Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson are going to hell and are leading people there for using potty words while also believing Muslims and Hindus might be saved is wild work, right? Nostra Aetate literally says the plan of salvation includes such as these, and lists. Muslims, lists. Jews, lists. Hindus. They had a document not that long ago that came out that said that Hindus worship God with a capital G. This is the same thing that Nostra Aetate says. And the document cites Nostra Aetate, right? But anyway, well, actually, it says they adore God. So that's even bigger language. Trent Horn's response: I didn't condemn potty words. For example, it's not a big deal to praise something as effing A, but FU is almost always a communication of sinful anger. That kind of wrath is incompatible with the Christian life. So he's making a heart judgment. He's making a judgment of his heart. He's saying FU is always means you got hate in your heart, you got anger in your heart, you got wrath, you got sinful wrath and anger. So therefore, you're going to hell. Andrew Wilson responded. He says, I've been pretty measured in my responses, Trent, but I see you won't stop coming until I put a lot of these criticisms to bed. Not like talking to you is possible since you refuse to discuss any of the accusations you make with the accused. So, Andrew Wilson, very measured response here. Okay. Notice something, by the way. All right. Original post, 1,000 likes. Trent Horn's response, 81 likes. Andrew Wilson's response, 712 likes. Massive, massive, massive disparity in the people that are supporting his particular view here. So I think that might be contributing to some of the stress, right? Is that the optics are swaying out of his favor. But listen, honestly, dude, I think you just might be so stressed out you can't see how this looks to everybody else. Right. So I want to be charitable. I'm not using that as an insult, by the way. I'm not trying to insult you by saying you're stressed. I'm like trying to give you an out. Okay. Because that would be the right way to come back from this, is just to say, like, look, I'm a little stressed out because of ABC 123. I'm taking a bit of a break. Maybe I shouldn't have said that he's going to hell. Or maybe you could even say, I didn't mean it in that way. I just think people shouldn't use profanity or whatever. I mean, you still be piety signaling, but you wouldn't be condemning people to hell or saying that they're going to go to hell for doing ABC 123. The worst thing that Trent could do in this situation would be to double down on this position. That would be the worst thing. And unfortunately, I do think that is probably what's going to happen, is he'll double down on this. The better thing to do would be say, look, I get it. I'm stressed. I got a little heated. Jay's been pushing my buttons lately. So, I shouldn't have said that they were going to hell for doing this, but, and then everybody else that follows him is going to be led to hell if they, whatever, so on and so forth. Whatever. Or I didn't intend it in that way would even be a better thing to do. But I think he's going to triple down on it. So we'll see. Pray for him, but we'll see. He responds, won't stop coming. Andrew, I barely mentioned you in this episode, and I discussed my previous one with you extensively before airing it, but you still said I was dishonest. And the Jay's whining about my critiques being because you two go on big podcasts. I don't care. Wes Huff goes on huge podcasts, and I don't attack his approach because he engages others in a Christ-like manner while still being masculine. He could outlift either of you in the gym easily. Oh, yeah? Well, you know what? I can almost bet. I can almost bet that I lift more than Wes Huff. I can almost bet. Let's do this. Come on, Wes. We're going to have a lifting competition. Actually, let's do this. Let's do some jujitsu. We'll roll in the gym. We'll do some lifting. We'll see who can lift more, me or Wes. Me or Wes Huff. I'll take that challenge. How about that? I'll lift so you two don't have to. I'll lift enough for the three of us. Wes Huff goes on huge podcasts. I don't attack his approach because he's Christ-like while still being masculine. He can outlift in either of you in the gym easily. Wes Huff also doesn't do debates at all anymore. He did like one, right? Didn't he debate? Who did he debate? He debated that weird Gnostic dude and then hit the lottery by going on Joe Rogan after that. After one debate. And then all of a sudden he's going on podcasts and they're titling him #1 Christianity expert. #1 Christianity expert. Look, dude, I don't think it would be smart for Wes to do debates. Honestly, I think he should keep going with what he's doing. But if he did do a debate with even your like most milquetoast Roman Catholic or your average Orthodox guy, he's going to get smoked. There's no way he's not. Right. But anyway, His expertise is manuscripts. All right. He's not a debater. He's not an apologetics guy. He's got one focus, manuscripts. He's probably not even number one manuscript guy. But then again, I'm not going to make that claim. But number one Christianity expert, that's a stretch. But anyway, Wes, if you find my words offensive, let's lift. Let's lift, bro. Let's have a lifting competition, me and you, dude. We're gonna we're gonna lift some iron. I'm taking you down in the gym, brother. We're lifting some weights together. Me and Wes Hoff lifting competition. Anyway. Oh, yeah, there you go. Father Moses lifting competition. He tore his bicep, though, so I don't think he's going to be doing any of that anytime soon. All right, anyway. I intend to go on as many big podcasts as possible to show even degenerates can be charitably evangelized. You just tell them they're going to hell for using potty words if they say that. Though my travel will be very limited while my wife recovers from brain surgery and cancer treatment. Look, all right. I know we're kind of funny here, but this really does suck. So as much as it is extremely distasteful that Trent is saying that these, Jay's going to hell, Andrew's going to hell, so on and so forth in a refutation video, I still would encourage you all, pray for Trent, pray for his wife. That really does suck. As somebody who's gone through cancer, it does suck. Okay. It is extremely stressful. So pray for Trent, pray for his wife. All right. Anyway, so I will be spending my time engaging important issues in those venues, not arguing inanities with you guys. So he's saying he's not going to debate them. He's just going to do response videos and not interact with them, so on and so forth. Finally, Jay, good on you for growing up a little and unblocking me. Shows there's hope for everyone. So he says, you're going to hell for insulting me and for having sinful anger. And then he gets angry at Jay and calls him a child. Shows there's hope for everyone. Even a child like you can unblock me. Andrew Wilson says, disingenuous. You mentioned my name at the beginning and kept referencing people like these. To the onlooker, the appearance is Andrew Wilson is people like these. The reason I am cautious with my words about fellow Christians in the space is because I know how much influence they can have. Never get the same courtesy back. So I will also make a video response since talking is always out of the question with you. You wouldn't want to roll around with the pigs after all. All of this could have been avoided too if you followed the proper procedure for how you're supposed to correct a brother. Yeah, reach out to them directly. Tell me how that's supposed to be done, Trent, and how you did it. You could argue I didn't do that first, but is the way you behave supposed to be dictated by your logic, by how I behave? Anyway, you get the point. So that's the back and forth there. Trent Horn says,
going to be blunt.
This year,
if a person consistently has this kind of anger in his heart, he will not go to heaven. What concerns me is that Dyer, Wilson, and other commenters like them cultivate this sinful attitude among their audiences. And that can lead to damnation for many of their followers. I'm going to be blunt. If a person...
Anyway. So Trent's condescending and superior tone is okay. I guess so. Well, I mean, he called him a child, all sorts of other stuff, said he's going to hell. But, if you use potty words, that apparently is the unforgivable sin. Throwaway account. Cleve, when is the next video with Marco? I'm eagerly waiting for the infant baptism one. Let's take a look. Hold on. Let me pull this up. I'm going to pull up my schedule. I think it's next month. Marco's video. He's going to be coming on April 23rd, 8 p.m. Eastern. It'll be infant baptism as a subject. Marco's going to be on. He's a Church of Christ pastor that is investigating orthodoxy. And Father Ron will be there to discuss infant baptism. Reminder, since we have over 500 live viewers right now, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, mark your calendars. Massive, massive, massive interview. Bishop Emilianos is going to be on the show. He was tonsured into the great schema, as was his spiritual father, who is literally a saint. Okay. So he's going to be on to talk about Nepsis. He's going to talk about the great schema. He's going to talk about the monastic life. And if you have questions for him, we're going to have a Q&A session towards the end of the stream there. So do not miss out on that stream. Thursday, massive stream, It's always great when we get hierarchs on the show. Super, super insightful. The last one that we had with Vladika Jonah was excellent. I'm sure this one's going to be excellent as well. All right. So I could go on and on and on about the stuff with Trent Horn. A ton of stuff to be said about this situation, but I'll leave it there. Again, it is Lent. Pray for Trent and for his wife, right? While we disagree with how he handled this particular issue, doesn't mean we can't pray for the guy. Anyway,